Welcome back, Worthy Restoration viewers. Today I'm going to take you through this particular car here. It's a rare 1968 Monaro, and I did some reassembly of this vehicle. A lot of the work had been done, and I'll talk to you about that shortly, but I wanted to quickly cover off the GMH name. GMH actually means General Motors Holden. I have referred to this in a couple of videos before, but Holden's, which is an Australian vehicle manufacturing company that finished in 2017, has been around for quite some time. And they actually started here in Adelaide in Australia. They were doing bodies for other vehicles like Chevrolet as well, but there was an opportunity for them to expand, and they got amalgamated with GM, which is General Motors for you in the US and around the world, and they're now called GMH, well, up until 2017, until they closed. So we don't make these cars from Australia anymore, but God, we made some amazing vehicles in that time, and we raced a lot of them as well. And this is one of them. This is a HK Monaro. It's a rarer car. They actually made the Monaros right through until the late 70s. But this is a late 1968 vehicle. It was only made for a year and had some interesting running gear in it. It actually had a 5-litre engine in it, but it's from the US. We made an Australian-made version of a V8 a bit later on, but until we could get that, we were putting American running gear in this. So it's got a Saginaw 4-speed and a US-based power plant, V8 power plant, which is a 307 cubic inch engine. So what did I do with this car? About a year ago, this car was sitting waiting to be finished off for its final assembly, and just the owner was looking for the right person to do it, and I popped up. So all the panel work had been done on this vehicle, and a lot of credit goes to Southern Classic and Customs, which is down here in Adelaide. They do a huge amount of work, high quality work. HK Restorations, and I will do another video on that down the track, is another business that I work very close with, who did some of the reassembly work on this, but they predominantly specialize in Ford, so they did a reasonable amount of work on this as well. What did I do with this particular vehicle? I installed pretty much all of the interior back into the car. Didn't do the roof lining, but all of the interior, the carpets, the seats, and also did the wiring loom as well. Even though the wiring loom was a reconditioned wiring loom, unfortunately, the person that did that wiring loom got all the connections wrong, upside down, so I had to go through every single one, test those connections to make sure that they're going to the right place, and then move them around within the pin connector that connected the body harness. And then when you turn the ignition on, you can make sure that all the correct items were working. So that took a fair bit of time to fix that particular issue. And I installed the running gear into the car. So the transmission, the engine, and other various parts to make sure that everything was working okay. So it's a beautiful restored example of a rare, only made for 1 year, 1968 HK series a Monaro. I keep on thinking of Bathurst because there's quite a few Bathurst cars that do float around. They did race this in Bathurst, so just to talk about that briefly for a moment, it's a famous Australian car race, and it had been going on for many years between all the manufacturers, Ford, Holden, Chrysler, for example, even Mazda raced in there. Some Japanese imports were brought in from the country. It's got a very detailed history, a bit like your Daytona in the US, for example. But it was a very long race. They do it up to 500 miles or 1,000 kilometers, depending on which way you want to decipher it, because the race lap durations changed over the years. And they really were endurance races for these cars. They were driven really hard. So the whole idea was you could race it on Sunday and you could go buy it on Monday in the showroom floor, and that's what they did with these particular models. They were very successful. I think what we'll do now is we're going to take you through some footage of the car inside. It's actually a black trim, and it matches the trim tag along with the white paint. And it's a matching numbers vehicle. And what that means is that the tags and the engine and everything else all line up, and the chassis number. So it's one of the rarer ones. They were not super expensive before COVID. They weren't too bad, but they've certainly risen in value, because with these particular vehicles, all of these cars you see around me, rarity drives price, and there's not many of them left in original condition or left at all. I will have to try and figure out, and I will work that out for you, how many of these were made and I do know how many LC and LJ Taranas were made for the GDR variants and the XG1 variants. Not 100% of how many were made for this one. This particular model range changed its name throughout the years. So it went HK, HT, HG, and that was depending on which years they were actually manufactured. So for those people watching, this one's referenced as a HK. It's one of the very first ones that was made, and in amazing, stunning condition. So we'll take you for a walk around there. But if you like these videos, subscribe, put some comments in the comment section about what you think about the restoration of this vehicle, and like. Enjoy.